The crack of the bat shattered the evening quiet like a gunshot, sending the ball arcing high into the fading Texas sun. But it wasn't the home run I dreamed of. It was the sound that betrayed me. Footsteps crunched on the gravel behind the backstop, deliberate and unhurried, freezing my blood as I spun around, bat still gripped white-knuckled in my hands. "Alex, honey, if you're gonna swing for the fences, at least let me spot you before you knock yourself out," Miss Harlan said, her voice soft but laced with that knowing edge that made my stomach twist, because no one was supposed to see me here. Not like this. Not the kid who'd been hiding his swing since freshman year. I dropped the bat like it burned, the aluminum clanging against the dirt of the empty field at Roosevelt High, the only place in this dust-choked corner of West Texas where I could pretend I belonged. Ms. Harlan, Elena to the faculty lounge, but always Ms. Harlan to us kids, was my English teacher, the one with the wild auburn curls and the habit of quoting Whitman like it was small talk. She wasn't supposed to be wandering the athletic fields after the last bell. Hell, no one was. The team had packed up hours ago, their cheers fading into the horizon like they always did without me. I was the ghost player, the one who watched from the bleachers, too scared of the locker room whispers to ever step up to the plate for real. I was just leaving, I stammered, wiping sweat from my brow with the hem of my faded Astros tee, my heart hammering harder than the pulse in my temples. Being caught practicing alone was bad enough. Being caught by her, with eyes that saw too much, felt like the whole damn world cracking open. She tilted her head, those green eyes appraising me not with pity, but something fiercer. Curiosity, maybe, or the spark of a challenge. "Leaving? With that form? Boy, you've got more fire in one swing than half the varsity squad combined. Why hide it?" Her words hung there, simple as a fastball, but they hit me square in the chest. No one had ever called out my swing before, not like that, not as fire but as something worth fanning. I mumbled something about not making the cut, about the coaches saying I was too distracted. Code for the rumors that had started sophomore year when Tommy Reyes caught me staring too long at Jake Navarro's broad shoulders during gym class. Miss Harlan didn't push, though. She just nodded, like she knew the weight of unspoken stories, and picked up my bat. "Lesson 1, she said, handing it back with a grin that crinkled the corners of her eyes. "Talent doesn't whisper. It roars. Now show me that swing again. Properly this time." That was the hook she sank into me. Right there on that sun-baked diamond in Lubbock, Texas, where the wind carried the scent of mesquite and distant rain that never quite came. I'd always loved baseball. Not the glory of it, the crowds and the scouts, but the rhythm, the solitude of the crack and the chase. My dad had taught me before the cancer took him, back when life was just summer nights in the backyard. Him tossing underhand pitches while Mom grilled burgers on the porch. After he died, baseball became my anchor, the one thing that didn't judge when the rest of the world started to. But high school, that was a different league. The jocks ruled like kings, and I was the serf who polished their crowns from afar. My queerness, a secret buried deeper than the field's infield mix. I'd sneak out here after dark, bat against the chain link, imagining scouts in the stands, imagining a life where I could be out and proud without the slurs flying faster than a curveball. Miss Harlan became my unlikely coach that week, showing up unannounced with a cooler of Gatorade and a glove she'd borrowed from the equipment shed. "English majors aren't just bookworms, Alex," she'd say, adjusting my stance with the precision of someone who'd played softball in college. "We know a good story when we see one, and yours? It's begging to be told." Her lessons weren't just about grip or follow-through. They were parables wrapped in baseball metaphors. She'd quote Frost, "Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. While I shagged flies," her voice weaving through the pop of the mitt. "The road less traveled? It's the one that makes all the difference, but only if you have the guts to take it." I laughed it off at first, but her words stuck, burrowing like seeds in cracked soil. By the end of the month, she'd bullied me into tryouts. "You're not just swinging for you anymore," she said one blistering afternoon, as I connected with a line drive that sailed over the left field fence. "You're swinging for every kid who's ever felt invisible." The team captains, led by Jake Navarro, with his easy grin and those hazel eyes that haunted my dreams, watched from the sidelines, clipboards in hand. Jake was everything I wasn't. Star shortstop, homecoming king material, the guy who could charm a strike zone into calling balls. I'd crushed on him since middle school, back when we'd bonded over comic books in detention. But that was before he bulked up and the world decided he was straight as an arrow. Tryouts were a blur of nerves and near misses. My palms slick as I stepped to the plate. The first pitch whistled past. Strike one. Ms. Harlan's voice cut through the murmurs. Breathe, Alex. It's not the pitch. It's the pause before. I exhaled, vision narrowing to the ball, and on the next swing I ripped it foul, then center solid, clean contact that drew a whistle from the outfield. I made the JV squad that day, a miracle wrapped in hand-me-down cleats. The locker room was a gauntlet, those showers divided by towels held like shields, jokes that landed like punches. Tommy was there, of course, my so-called best friend since third grade, the one who'd sworn secrecy after that gym class slip-up. Congrats, Fairy, he muttered under his breath as we laced up, low enough that only I heard. I shot him a glare, but inside, the old fear coiled tight. Jake clapped me on the back, his touch electric through my jersey. Nice cuts out there, Ramirez. You're gonna fit right in. His smile was genuine, the kind that lit up the dim fluorescence, and for a second, I let myself believe it, believe in a team, in belonging, in maybe, just maybe, him. Ms. Harlan threw a welcome aboard barbecue at her place that weekend. A rambling ranch house on the edge of town with fairy lights strung across the pecan trees and a fire pit crackling against the chill. Half the English class showed, plus a smattering of athletes who'd heard about the bookish coach through the grapevine. She grilled ribs with a storyteller's flair, doling out plates while spinning yarns about her college days. Road trips across Route 66, lovers lost and found under neon signs. Life's not a straight line, kids, she said, winking at me over a beer she wasn't supposed to have. It's a series of curves. Some you hit, some you dodge. Jake arrived late, fresh from practice, his hair damp and tousled, sliding onto the porch swing beside me with a plate piled high. Your teacher's a trip, he said, bumping my shoulder. Quoting poetry at a barbecue? Only in Lubbock. We talked for hours that night, the fire popping like punctuation marks. He confessed the pressure of being the golden boy, the scouts circling like vultures, his dad's belt-whipping expectations every missed grounder. Sometimes I just want to bail on it all, you know? Run off to Austin, play gigs in dive bars instead of chasing some MLB pipe dream. His voice dropped, vulnerable in the glow, and I saw it then. The cracks in his armor, the boy beneath the bravado. I shared a sliver of my own story. The dad gone too soon, the mom working doubles at the diner to keep the lights on. Baseball's my escape, I admitted, staring into the flames. The one place where I don't have to pretend. Our knees brushed under the blanket she tossed over us against the autumn bite, and neither pulled away. When he leaned in, breath mingling with mine, it wasn't a kiss. Not yet, but a promise, electric and unspoken. The season kicked off with a bang, our JV Wolves scraping a win against the crosstown rivals in a game that went extra innings under the floodlights. I started at third base, nerves jangling like loose change, but Ms. Harlan's voice echoed from the stands. Own the dirt, Alex. I did, snagging a hot liner that had the crowd on its feet, Jake whooping from shortstop as he fired it to first for the double play. Post-game, the team piled into Denny's, syrup sticky plates and victory toasts with root beer mugs. Tommy dominated the booth talk, recounting his heroic save in right field, but his eyes kept flicking to me and Jake, huddled at the end sharing fries. You two lovebirds done whispering? He jeered, loud enough for the table to chuckle. Heat flooded my face. Jake laughed it off, slinging an arm around my shoulders. Jealous, Reyes? Alex, here's my good luck charm. But the damage lingered, a splinter under the skin. Miss Harlan pulled me aside Monday after homeroom, her classroom smelling of chalk dust and fresh printed sonnets. Heard about the game, you shown, kid? But her smile faltered when I confessed the diner jab, the way Tommy's words had soured the win. She leaned against her desk, arms crossed like a confessor. Betrayal's the bitterest pitch, Alex. One you never see coming from your own dugout. She told me her own story then, over vending machine cokes. Coming out in the 90s, small-town Texas, the girlfriend who sold her letters to the local rag for a thrill. It broke me open, she said, eyes distant. But it also set me free. The lesson? Trust your swing, not the crowd. Her hand on my shoulder was steady, maternal in a way Mom's exhaustion never allowed, and I left that room lighter, resolve hardening like rosin on my glove. Jake and I fell into a rhythm after that, stolen moments between drills and doubleheaders. We'd linger in the cages, him pitching soft toss while I poured out fragments. The fear of disappointing Mom, the ache of wanting what I couldn't name. He'd listen, really listen, his throws steady as his gaze. "You're not alone in this, Alex," he said one dusk, the field emptying around us. Eve felt it too. The looks, the questions I dodge. His confession hung fragile, a pop fly against the stars, and when our lips finally met, tentative, tasting of salt and Gatorade, it was like rounding the bases, breathless and right. We kept it quiet, of course. Lubbock wasn't Austin and the team was a powder keg. But in those hidden innings, we built something real. Notes slipped into lockers, walks along the dry arroyo where cicadas sang our soundtrack. Fall deepened, the air turning crisp with the promise of playoffs, and our secret bloomed like the wild asters along the fences. Delicate, defiant. Jake and I carved out pockets of us. Dawn runs through the cotton fields, where he'd steal kisses behind abandoned silos, his laughter muffled against my neck. Late-night texts dissecting game film, devolving into miss you loops that kept me awake, heart full. Ms. Harlan noticed, of course. Her classes were seminars in subtext, and she'd arch a brow when Jake dropped by for extra credit, lingering too long at my desk. "Love's the ultimate plot twist," she'd murmur during office hours, grading my essays on Gatsby with red-inked hearts in the margins. "Just make sure your characters get their arcs." Mom noticed too in her quiet way. Diner shifts left her bone-tired, but she'd leave empanadas wrapped in foil on the counter. A post-it scrawled, "Proud of you, Mijo," after every win. I almost told her everything one night, over arroz con pollo at the scarred Formica table, the radio humming Tejano ballads. "School's good," I started, fork tracing patterns in my beans. "Found someone." Her eyes softened, calloused hands covering mine. "As long as they treat you right, Alex, that's all a mama wants." She didn't pry, didn't need to. Her squeeze said she knew, and in that moment, Lubbock felt a little less like a cage. The betrayal came swift as a hidden ball trick, mid-season against the Amarillo Sandies. We'd clinched a 5-4 nail-biter, my RBI single in the 8th sealing it, Jake's glove a blur on the relay. Locker room euphoria. High fives, coach's gruff, attaboy, Ramirez, but Tommy cornered me by the sinks, face twisted like he'd swallowed glass. "Saw you two in the parking lot last week. Tongues and all. You think you're slick." My blood ran cold. The lot, after practice. Jake's truck, windows fogged, our goodbye lingering too long. "It's not your business," I hissed, shoving past, but he grabbed my arm, nails digging. "It is when it's disgusting. I'm telling Coach, hell, the whole school, unless you quit the team." Blackmail from the kid who'd shared my treehouse secrets, the one I'd covered for when he cheated on biotests. "Why?" I whispered, throat raw. He shrugged, venom in his sneer. "Because real men don't play for the other team." I didn't sleep that night, pacing my room to the tick of the alarm clock, baseball cards scattered like fallen soldiers. Dawn found me at the field, bat in hand, swinging fury at shadows until Ms. Harlan's Civic crunched into the lot. She didn't ask, just handed me a thermos of coffee, black as tar, and sat on the bleachers, waiting. The words tumbled out in fits. The threat, the fear, Jake's oblivious texts buzzing my pocket. She listened, then sighed, the sound heavy with old wars. "Tommy's scared, Alex. Scared of what you represent. Freedom he can't touch. But fear makes monsters, and monsters lash out." Her lesson that morning wasn't swings or sonnets. It was survival. Confront him, not with fists, but truth. And if he swings, you duck, and keep running your race. I cornered Tommy at lunch, The cafeteria a roar of trays and teenage thunder. He smirked from his jock table, but I slid in across, voice low. You tell, and you're not just outing me, you're killing what we've got. Friendship, team, everything. His eyes flickered. Guilt? Defiance? You're ruining it, Alex. Acting like it's normal. It is normal. I shot back, pulse thundering. For me. And Jake. Yeah, I said it. We're together. And it's the best damn thing in my life. The table hushed. Heads turned. Tommy's face drained white, then red, and he bolted, chair scraping like a curse. Whispers erupted. Did Ramirez just? But Jake was there in seconds, hand on my elbow, steadying. What the hell, man? I pulled him into the hall, spilling it all, his jaw clenching like a fist. That bastard. We'll face it together. The fallout hit like a Texas twister. By afternoon announcements, rumors swirled, graffiti on my locker, fag out, in sharpest scrawl. Gym class skipped with sick excuses. Coach pulling me aside with awkward platitudes about focus. Jake stuck close, our hands brushing under desks. His texts a lifeline. You're my MVP. Screw them. Ms. Harlan weaponized her classroom, assigning the Laramie Project, with a fervor that silenced snickers. Her lectures on hate's anatomy landing like fastballs. Empathy isn't optional, she'd say, pacing the aisles. It's the only play that wins in the long game. Mom got the call from the principal. Mandatory meeting, sensitivity training veiled as discipline. And she stormed in like a force of nature, her uniform still greasy from the grill. My boy's twice the man any of you are, she told them, chin high. Touch him, and you answer to me. But the real storm brewed in Jake. He withdrew, practices mechanical, his throws sharp but joyless. Dad found out, he confessed one night. Us parked on Lover's Lane, the dashboard glow carving shadows on his face. Overheard Tommy at the gas station. Says it's a phase for me, but for you? Bad influence. Wants me to transfer schools. His voice cracked, and I pulled him close, the truck cab shrinking to our shared breath. Then we fight it. Together. We kissed then, fierce and fracturing. His tears salt on my lips. But doubt crept in, a slow poison. His silences lengthening, excuses piling like unread messages. Playoffs loomed, district semis against the undefeated Midland Mavericks. The whole town buzzing like a hive. Ms. Harlan rallied us in her lit class, turning analysis into pep talk. Heroes don't win alone. They choose their allies. I chose Jake, cornering him post-drill in the dugout, the air thick with liniment and loss. If you bail, it breaks us both. He met my eyes, turmoil swirling hazel depths. I love you, Alex, but my old man's got the scouts on speed dial. One scandal and it's gone. The word hung, love. First time spoken. A grand slam in the quiet. Then make the call, I said, throat tight. Us or the dream? He walked away, bat bag slung heavy, and the field felt vast, empty as my chest. That night, betrayal's second act unfolded. Tommy didn't just tell Coach. He leaked a blurry photo to the school Snapchat, Jake and me in the lot, arms entangled. It spread like wildfire. Shares, stories. The principal's office a revolving door of tearful parents and stone-faced admins. Jake's phone exploded, his dad's rage voicemails, teammates ghosting. He showed up at my door at midnight, duffel in hand, eyes wild. I'm out. Packed a bag. Heading to my aunt's in Dallas till it blows over. Panic clawed me. This was it, the fork Frost warned of. Don't go. We face it here. But he shook his head. Kiss goodbye tasting of goodbye. I can't lose everything, Alex. Not yet. The door clicked shut, and I sank to the porch, stars blurring through tears. Miss Harlan's words echoing hollow. Keep running your race. Dawn broke gray and unforgiving. The kind of West Texas morning where dust devils danced mockingly across the plains. I dragged myself to school. Each step a leaden thud. Jake's absence of void sucking the color from the halls. Lockers slammed like judgments, stares pricking my skin. Pity from some, venom from others. Tommy avoided my gaze in the lot, slinking to his truck with shoulders hunched, but victory's glow had fled his face. He looked smaller, the bully unmasked. Ms. Harlan intercepted me at my locker, her arm linking mine like armor. Breathe through it, Alex. Scandals fade. Character endures. She marched me to the principal's office, where Mom waited, fierce in her scrubs, flanked by a counselor droning about inclusive policies. Expulsion loomed for disruptive conduct, but Mom's tirade, spitting Spanish fire, shifted the tide. Disruptive? Your boy's the one integrating this backward town. By lunch, it was suspension for Tommy, hate speech violation, and a district-wide assembly on respect, Ms. Harlan volunteering to lead. The team fractured without Jake. Practice was a ghost town. Half the JV boys bailed, citing family commitments. Coach barking orders to the echoes. I suited up anyway. Glove leather creaking like resolve. Fielding grounders with mechanical precision. The dirt remembered. Every divot a story. Every bounce a rebound. For Jake, I muttered with each scoop. The infield my confessional. Whispers persisted, but so did allies. The quiet second baseman, Mia, who'd slip me protein bars with notes. You're brave, Ramirez. And the assistant coach, a grizzled vet named Ruiz, who grunted approval at my throws. Heart over hustle, kid. That's the real diamond. Nights blurred into vigils. Phone silent save for Jake's sporadic check-ins. Hanging in Dallas. Miss you bad. No, I love you. Though, the words retracted like a curve. Mom filled the gaps with stories. Dad's own hidden pains. The migrant farm life he'd fled for her smile. He taught you to swing true, Mijo. Now swing for joy. Her hugs smelled of fry oil and fortitude. A balm against the ache. Miss Harlan upped her game, inviting me for tutoring that was therapy in disguise. Walks along the Llano Estacado trails, her reciting Neruda. I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees. Until laughter cracked my grief. Love's not a loss, Alex. It's a launch. Midland Week arrived like a showdown at high noon. The stadium packed with boosters and Stetsons. Cheerleaders' pom-poms slicing the tension. No Jake, but his absence fueled me. A ghost in center, urging from the ether. I started at third again. The crowds murmur a low growl. That's the one. But as the anthem swelled, something shifted. Banners in the stands. Play ball. Not hate, scrawled on poster board. Ms. Harlan's doing. Her English club waving like partisans. The first inning tested. Mavericks leadoff hitter smoked a liner my way. A bullet I snared barehanded. Firing to first for the out. The roar surprised me. My roar, tentative then thunderous. Coach's nod from the bench. That's it, Ramirez. We clawed to a 3-2 lead by the fifth, my double in the third plating the go-ahead run. But the sixth cracked open. Maverick's slugger crushed a 3-run homer, our pitcher wilting under the heat. Dugout deflated, towels over heads, but Ms. Harlan's voice pierced from the fence. It's the seventh that counts. Comeback country. I led off the bottom, facing their ace, a lanky kid with a wicked slider. Ball one low and away. Strike one, painted the corner. The count evened, heart sinking to the ump's cadence. Full count, bases empty, the weight of the town on my swing. The pitch hung, fat, begging, and I uncoiled, bat whipping through, the crack pure poetry. Sailed, deep left, the outfielder backpedaling, glove high, gone. Grand slam? No, solo shot, but it tied the game, the stands erupting in chaos. Hugs from strangers, Mom's scream piercing the din. Extra innings dragged, nerves frayed like rosin bags. Bottom ninth, down by 1, 2 outs, me at the plate again. The pitcher glared, wind up a blur. I fouled off 2, then took a ball, the crowd on its feet. For us, Jake's phantom whispered. The next pitch chest high, gone mad. I drove it, a frozen rope to right center, legs churning, dust flying. Safe at second on the stand-up double, the tying run scoring ahead. Teammates mobbed the horn, Mia crossing home with the winner on a wild pitch. Victory, Pyrrhic but pulsing, the field a frenzy of embraces. In the chaos, my phone buzzed. Jake. Watched the stream. You were a god. Coming home. He rolled into town 2 days later, truck rumbling up my drive at twilight, looking road-worn but whole, duffel lighter, eyes clearer. We sat on the porch swing, creaking under our weight, the air humming with unspoken audits. I ran because I was scared, he said, hand finding mine. Scared of losing the game, the team. You. I squeezed, the calluses familiar. You almost did. His kiss was apology and anchor, slow under the pecan shade. Mom's silhouette in the window a silent blessing. No more hiding, he vowed. Out and proud or not at all. We talked till stars pricked the sky. Plans for Austin scouts who didn't care about labels. Gigs where he could strum his guitar unjudged. Our story, he said, echoing Ms. Harlan. It's just inning one. Tommy resurfaced at school, summoned to the counselor's den for restorative circles. He slunk into the cafeteria, tray trembling, sliding opposite me at an empty table. I screwed up, he mumbled, eyes down. Dad's a drunk. Hits when he's mad, thought if I fit in. The confession spilled, raw as an open wound. His own closet, not gay but questioning, lashing out to bury it. I listened, the old friendship flickering. Hate's a heavy bat, Tommy. Drop it. No forgiveness easy, but a truce. Him apologizing to Jake over shaky texts, joining the assembly as a speaker, voice cracking on, I'm sorry. Ms. Harlan facilitated, her hand on his shoulder a bridge. Redemption's the longest home run, she said later, over coffee at the diner. But worth every step. Winter thawed into spring, the Wolves rebuilding with transfers and tryouts. Jake back at short, our double plays a dance, synced, seamless. Prom loomed, the gym strung with stars, and we went as us. Me in a rented tux, him in his Letterman jacket over slacks, corsages pinned proud. The slow dances were ours, bodies close amid the sway, whispers lost in the bass. No slurs that night. The tide had turned, Miss Harlan's banner's a talisman. Mom snapped photos on the porch pregame, tears brimming. My boys, she said, pulling us into a hug that smelled of home. Graduation dawned hot and hazy, caps like blackbirds against the Coliseum blue. Valedictorian Jake. Yeah, he nailed that too, spoke of divergences, quoting Frost with a nod to Ms. Harlan in the front row. The road less traveled? It's paved with the people who believe in you. His eyes found mine in the sea of gowns, a wink that sealed it. Diplomas in hand, we bolted for Austin. UT scholarships for both, baseball and books. Mom waving from the Greyhound lot, her diner tip jar fat with well-wishers extras. But the real lesson? It came that summer, back on the diamond for old time's sake. Miss Harlan tossing batting practice, her curls silver-threaded now. You caught me swinging alone once, I said, fouling one off. She grinned, glove popping. And look at you now. Full count, bases loaded. Jake shagged flies in the outfield, his laugh carrying. The crack echoed, true and triumphant, the ball soaring endless into the sun. College hit like a fastball to the ribs. UT's campus a sprawl of Longhorn red and relentless energy. Austin's vibe a bomb after Lubbock's chokehold. Jake and I shared a shoebox dorm off San Jacinto, posters of Mantle and Whitman papering the cinder block. Our routines a new rhythm. Morning lifts in the rec center, him majoring in music ed, me in lit with a psych minor, chasing Ms. Harlan's ghost. Baseball evolved to club team, not varsity, but the diamond felt liberated, no scouts shadows, just pickup games under live oaks where queerness was backdrop, not bombshell. We'd crash post-practice at Barton Springs, towels slung over shoulders, diving into the chill-fed blue, his hand tracing my spine underwater, bubbles of laughter rising. Ms. Harlan visited once, fall of freshman year, her Civic loaded with Whataburger sacks and dog-eared hardcovers. Texas girls don't quit their boys, she teased, hugging us fierce on the quad. We hiked Lady Bird Lake trails that weekend, her stories evolving, retirement whispers, a girlfriend in Marfa with an art gallery and a rescue mutt. Love later in life? Sweeter than stolen bases. Over beers at a dive on 6th, she grilled Jake on his set lists, me on my thesis, Gatsby's green light as queer metaphor, Her red pen traded for proud nods. You too? My best plot. Driving her to the airport, tears stung. She pressed a glove into my hands, oiled and supple. For the curves ahead. Swing true. But curves came sharp and shadowed. Junior year, Jake's band gigged steady. Open mics at the Continental Club, his voice gravel honey over acoustics, drawing crowds that lingered too long. I cheered from the bar, proud but pricked by the eyes on him. The buy you a drink? Lilt from fans with intentions clear. Jealousy's a foul tip. Ms. Harlan texted when I confessed over FaceTime. Her face pixelated from Lubbock. Hit it fair. But doubt accumulated, pitches I couldn't read. His late nights networking. The way he'd pull away mid-kiss, citing headspace. Tour dreams, babe, he'd say. But the space grew, a chasm widening. The betrayal redux arrived subtle, a slow leak. We'd planned a spring break road trip. Route 66 echoes, cheap motels from her tales. But his phone buzzed constant. A producer from Dallas dangling studio time. One weekend, he promised, kissing my doubts away. I went solo to Marfa instead, crashing at Ms. Harlan's, the desert air thin and clarifying. Her girlfriend, Lena, tall, tattooed with a laugh like wind chimes, cooked tamales while they swapped out stories, normalizing the ache. Young love's volatile, Ms. Harlan said, stargazing from the porch. Test it with space. But space bred specters. Back in Austin, Jake's texts thinned, excuses thickening. Rehearsal ran late. Climax brewed in the heat of finals. Me buried in a seminar on queer lit. Him headlining a queer pride showcase at Elysium. I showed late, the club pulsing with rainbows and bass, bodies a-tide. He owned the stage. Guitar slung low, lyrics raw about hidden hearts and highway escapes. But post-set, I found him in the alley, pressed against the brick by a drummer from the opener, lips locked, hands roaming. The world tilted, my shout a crack in the din. Jake! He startled, guilt etching his face, the drummer slinking off with a mutter. Alex, wait. It's nothing. Stress release. Nothing? The word gutted me, betrayal's blade twisting old wounds. Tommy's photo, his Dallas flight, now this our foundation fracturing. We fought in the dorm till neighbors banged walls, words flying like errant throws. My accusations of cowardice, his deflections of pressure. You don't get it. The industry's brutal. I threw the glove she'd given, leather thudding soft. You get to choose, always. Me or the easy out. He stormed to a buddy's couch, radio silence descending. Mom called from Lubbock, voice steady. Come home, Mijo. Breathe. But home was him once. Now it was shrapnel. Ms. Harlan's email arrived at 3 a.m. Betrayal's echo, not end. What's your next swing? I drove west at dawn, tires humming hymns, pulling into her drive as the sun crested the caprock. She didn't coddle, brewed coffee strong, sat me on the swing with Lena's pie. Tell it plain. The story poured, the alley, the lie, the love curdled to loss. She nodded, eyes knowing. He chose fear again. But you? You're choosing you. Her lesson. Years distilled. Humanity's in the heartbreak. The way we mend. Not just break. We hiked the Chinati peaks that week, her quoting Auden. We must love one another or die. The words a salve. Lena shared her scars. Ex who bailed for straight passing. The rebuild in clay and canvas. Pains the potter's wheel. Shapes if you let it. By week's end, resolve hardened. I'd finish the semester, transfer if needed, but stand in my story. Jake showed at my door pre-summer, hollow-eyed, guitar case scarred. I messed up. Bad. Apologies tumbled. The hookup a spiral from rejection fears. Industry whispers of, don't rock the boat. I love you, Alex. Always have. But love? Tarnished now, the shine dulled. Love's action, I said, Ms. Harlan's echo. Not just words. We talked for hours, truths bared. His closet reopened by fame's glare. My trust a tattered pennant. No easy fix. Therapy referrals, space agreed, him crashing with bandmates. Me interning at a Austin Lit mag. Words my new bat. Fall semester dawned fractured but fertile. Jake and I coexisted. Awkward waves across the quad. Texts polite as placeholders. The club team recruited me for captain. The diamond a refuge where I mentored freshmen. Sharing Harlan swings. Grip loose, heart firm. Pride Month rolled in vibrant. The parade a river of flags. And I marched with the lit society. Rainbow pin glinting. Jake was there on a float with his band. Our eyes locking mid-route. Regret in his, resolve in mine. Post-march he approached, sober now 6 months in. Proud of you, he said, no plea attached. I nodded, the knot loosening. Same. Ms. Harlan retired that year, a bash at the high school field. Fireworks and farewells, her speech a Whitman ode to open roads. She dedicated it to the boys who swung true. Winking at the camera pan to me, streamed live. Mom flew down, her diner apron traded for a sundress, hugging her fierce. You saved my boy. Harlan laughed, tears bright. Nah, he saved himself. Senior year scripted redemption, not reunion, Jake and I orbiting closer, orbits elliptical but kind. He aced his recital, a set weaving our story into ballads of longing and launch. I published my thesis, a chapbook on queer arcs in American lit. Miss Harlan's forward a love letter. To the swingers of fences, literal and lit. We grabbed coffee's post-grad fare. Boundaries blurred but honored. No kisses, but the ghost of them in easy silences. I'm sorry, became ritual, his growth tangible. Coming out to his dad over Thanksgiving turkey. The old man's gruff, as long as you're happy, son. Betrayal's scar faded to silver. A reminder, not rupture. Commencement under the tower's carillon. Gowns swirling like home-run dust. Jake and I side by side in line. Friends, first and fierce. His speech, salutatorian nod, echoed frost anew. 2 roads converged for us, in a wood of wonders. The crowd hooped, Mom dabbing eyes beside Lena and Harlan. Flown in for the capstone. Diplomas clutched, we bolted for post-grad adventures. Me to a MFA program in Iowa, words waiting. Him to Nashville demos, guitar case his compass. Airport goodbyes were soft, hugs lingering. Write the sequel, he said, boarding pass crinkling. We will, I replied, the promise open-ended. Iowa winters bit deep, the prairie flat as fresh-cut sod, but Des Moines bloomed unexpected. A writer's co-op thick with queer voices, potlucks of pierogies and prose. I swung words like bats, teaching undergrads my Harlan method of metaphor and might. Letters from Lubbock sustained. Mom's diner expansions, a second location with my name on the sign. Tommy's emails, sparse but sincere, him at community college, coaching little league with no hate rules. Jake's tracks dropped quarterly, Spotify playlists tagged, for ballads that charted low but true. His texts heard this on a drive, reminded me of us. The unexpected lesson circled back spring break. Harlan's invite to a Marfa Lit Fest, her as panelist, me as +1. The drive was Whitman Road, planes unfurling, her Civic humming old Springsteen. Life's innings, Alex. 9th always counts. The fest pulsed. Panels on narrative betrayal. Workshops forging empathy from ache. Jake surprised. Rolling in dusty from a gig detour. Guitar slung. Couldn't miss it. The reading that night, me on stages of coming out. Him acoustic backup. Our duet a harmony honed by hurt. Post-set, under the Chinati stars, Harlan raised a toast. To lessons unexpected, love's enduring. His hand found mine, tentative. I laced fingers, the old spark steady, not scorching. We didn't rush, dinner dates in Marfa's glow, walks where words wove futures. Betrayal's ghost visited in whispers. What if? But we named it, tamed it, therapy check-ins, boundaries like base paths. Summer found us road-tripping Route 66 for real, motels with neon vows, baseball detours to Cooperstown shrines. In a Kansas diner, over pie a la mode, he slid a ring, simple silver, etched with a diamond's crack. Not proposal, promise, to swing together, curves and all. Tears pricked. I slipped it on, the fit perfect. Back in Lubbock for Mom's grand opening, Ramirez's home plate, a diner diamond hybrid, fields visible from the booths. She pulled us into the kitchen, flour-dusted hugs. My boys, full circle. Harlan presided, her curls wild. Lena toasting with sweet tea. Tommy showed, awkward in a polo, offering a mitt. Truce pitch. Jake caught it, grin wide. I nodded, the circle widening. Years layered like innings. My novel, Foul Lines. A queer baseball Bildungsroman. Dedicated to H, the coach who caught me. Jake's album, Ninth Inning Hearts, Grammy Whispers. We settled Austin eventually, house off the lake, porch swing creaking under dual weights, adoptions pending. A rescue pup named Bat, then foster kids with stories to swing. Ms. Harlan visited often, her Marfa gallery a second home. Grandkids on the way with Lena. Humanity's the long game, she'd say, watching us coach t-ball, rainbows on mitts. One twilight, back on that Roosevelt diamond. Overgrown now, but ours. I picked up a bat, Jake tossing underhand, Harlan spotting from the bleachers. The crack echoed, eternal. The ball arcing into forever. Lesson learned, she called. I grinned, rounding bases with him in tow. Every swing's unexpected. And that's the beauty. In the end, it wasn't the home run or the heartbreak that defined us. It was the pause, the choice to step up again. Lubbock's dust settled, but our story? Still unfolding, bright as Texas sun.